Welcome to Fort William for the 2022 Downhill World Cup. I'm George Thompson from Making Up the Numbers. With me today I have Jack Reading, and what we're going to do is something I don't think I've seen done before, well I hope not, is I'm going to get Jack to talk us down the course. We're not going to stop at every point, but to give us a real run through of what he's thinking pretty much at every point on track. So starting here, we're at the top. What are you thinking, Jack, as you're sat in that start hut there?
So a track like this, obviously fairly pedally start and you're up to speed pretty quick. So yeah, I'm just making sure I've got my gear in the right place, getting my breathing under control. That's a big one. And just thinking about getting on gas as hard as possible. Okay, and I think famously, you only brake twice before the boardwalk, is that right? There's three braking points at the top. It does depend on conditions, tailwind, how dry it is, things like that. But yeah, for me, there's typically three braking points in this top section. Excellent. Right, let's get into it.
So the start hut's probably a couple of 100 yards behind me there, and Jack hasn't stopped yet, so I presume he hasn't braked yet, which is pretty unbelievable. So we're now, what do you reckon, 300 yards into the track, something like that?
Yeah, it's about a minute to the rock garden, so you're probably 20 seconds into the track now.
And this here behind me is your first braking point?
Yeah, so most people won't touch the brakes until the entrance into this left. Those corners up there, you can just bounce between them. So yeah, you're coming absolutely charging down here. But yeah, you've got to brake to settle the bike, make sure it's not accelerating as you enter the corner. And then this is where the last World Cup, Gwynny famously either dropped the front wheel off the bridge or did something and had a big crash because his braking obviously didn't work out.
Cool. So coming through this, up until this point, were you just pumping the bike?
Yeah, just aggressively working the bike through the corners. There's a couple of pedal strokes that you're going to put in places, but yeah, mainly just getting the speed out the corners and then speed tucking. This whole straight will just be a speed tuck just to get out of the wind.
Nuts. It's just nuts, isn't it? It's the little bit where Aaron's front wheel hit, and a few weeks ago at the National, it looked a bit different to this, didn't it?
Yeah, so it used to be a hole, and then last week at the National, they just piled rocks there. And now they've obviously kindly put us a nice platform, but yeah, the front wheel will have gone somewhere in there.
Whereabouts did he end up?
Yeah, he ended up past where Sarah and Elliot are, so it's a long way. Fair play to him for getting back up and riding down, because it's a big crash.
Coming off that boardwalk into that corner, next braking point's here.
Yeah, straight away, so that left comes back uphill on itself into this right, so you tap the brakes for the second braking point to just calm the bike into here, and then your third braking point is into that, again, sharp left. Once you've gone out of that sharp left, you're off the brakes then all the way to the first rock garden.
You were just talking to your gravity school riders about this next section. Yeah. Just tell me a little bit about it and why you don't want to brake on it.
Yeah, so I was just telling them in these three tight corners here, they need to really tip the bike under them instead of leaning like you would in a berm, so that you can get your body over the tyres to get that extra grip. And then once you're out of this left, these corners are just fast, and you've just got to commit, because if you touch the brakes, especially in that long right down there, you're going to lose the momentum, and then that's going to affect you all the way along those boardwalks into the top rock garden. So it's really important that they dare themselves throughout practice to gradually get to a point where they're not braking at all, because they'll carry all that extra speed all the way along there.
And this used to be a bit of a nemesis for you, this top section, but you studied Danny doing it, is that right?
Yeah, my dad was up on the veranda at the cafe, and he was watching riders, and he watched Danny through the corners and watched how aggressive he was with the bike in the turns and how much commitment he was throwing to the corners. And he pulled me aside and said, look, you need to really attack those corners. And since that year, I don't think I've been out of the top 20 in this first split very often. So yeah, it took a while to get used to, but once you get used to it, it's kind of just repeat that process.
And you say a minute to the boardwalk, yeah?
It's a minute roughly into the top rocks if you're on it.
Let's see how you do on Sunday.
There you go.
We just hacked something together. Just over there is the boardwalk. That's come to an end. You don't realise quite how narrow it is. It's narrower when you walk it than when you ride it. I sit down on the boardwalk and get a rest, because this is the point now at which it really goes nuts. Talk us through this section.
Yeah, so it changes now. You've had your minute of almost warm-up where you just flow and go fast, but it's fairly easy on the body. Now that completely changes and you're into the rocks, you're into the meat of the track, and from here all the way to, especially with what they've changed this year, to the woods. So past the deer gate, you've got rough, rocky compressions with turns in there, fast straights. So yeah, you've got almost a complete change in the style of riding now.
And there's no smooth lines really, is there?
Not really, no. To a certain extent, you do have to just rock bash. I mean, you can be smart, and this is where a track walk's important, because if you can pick lines to avoid the nastier rocks and get nice lines through the corners and avoid the worst of it, then it can all add up on the way down.
So this next left-hander, I'm pretty steady into here, but I've noticed over the years people just getting faster and faster and faster into that. Are they braking for that left-hander?
I'm not sure if some of the very top boys, I'm sure they will brake in some way to settle the bike, but they ain't slowing down much. They're more just reducing the acceleration as they then turn. But yeah, I can tell you I'm braking for that corner.
Let's go and have a look at it. So this is the left-hander, and you can see the size of the boulders. Lots of wheel traps down here. As Jack's just said, top riders possibly not braking down here. This is where you'll get some great camera shots of the bikes working well over the weekend. Try and walk down. There's just no smooth lines. There is just no. I mean, it's a bit smoother there on the left, and you want to be on the left for the corner, but there's still big rocks, granite everywhere. This bit is the start of pinball.
Yeah.
Is that right?
Yeah.
And you're outside there.
Yeah, so through the gully, there's a clever line back up there you can do to get a really nice set up through that left, and then yeah, just you don't want to be pulling up off there, you want to be nice and smooth through here. If you're really precise, oh gas. So you don't want to be pulling up off there, you want to be nice and precise. If you're over the rocks, you want to be nice and smooth, or if you've been accurate and inside. But yeah, this is the start of a real rough section where you need to be nice and fluid.
So you're gapping from there to here.
If you come and look at the entry, you get into the corner, the fact you're not going through any of the rocks.
We just found a new bit here, new potential line. Tell us what you're thinking here.
Yeah, I spotted some people riding it at the Nationals, so you can come through the middle where Ben's standing through the rocks, but then it's quite rough where we are, and it points you into the kind of not a tricky angle into the turn, but it points you into the left side of the right-hander. Whereas if you look at the grass line that's around the outside where I'm standing, it's really smooth all the way through, and then you can fly up here and there's a little smooth landing there which points you into the direction of the corner. So the thing with a line like this is it is longer, so you have to go faster to make it work. If you're going to ride this line at the same speed as you ride that line, it's slower because it's longer. So it's one of them. Might put some wheels on it tomorrow, see how it feels. But they've done some work to the main line and the holes are smaller, so it's probably going to be a case of just get on with it and crack on through the middle.
So we're kind of fast discovering why we don't think anybody's done a video like this before, and that's the wind. Apologies for the audio on this video, we're trying our best here. So this section, we weren't going to film it, and then I just said to Luke from Badger Productions, who's filming, this is just Fort William, this is just the bit, it's nothing, it's just a little section, but your choices are, do you want to hit these big three rocks here and kind of gap onto that other one over there, but if you don't make it, your front wheel and back wheel will hit that, then you're all a kilter for the next section. Or you can try and go around the outside, but that's way off. You're going to be slowing down to get that, and this is just why Fort William is so hard. It's just like this all the way down. So Jack, you were just saying that this is one of the scariest corners on the track?
Yeah, for sure. So you come fast down that straight. Sometimes you've got a natural wind break like you would have had today. But when you get into here, it's just rough all the way around this left. So you're nervous about like the bike maybe breaking or getting a puncture, and you're daring yourself to stay off the brakes because it's not sharp, so you don't need to brake round it. And then as you come round it, you're faced with that fella there, that huge rock.
So we haven't been this way since 2016, I don't think. You remember it?
This way is rocky, it's still more of the same, so yeah, I'm kind of glad we're going this way again, really.
This is the new section, the new old section. Jack's just done walking through here. He'll just send this probably and think nothing of it. But I was just saying that this is like, you know, pretty gnarly, really. So this is the bit where I'd start to dominate now. You know, I think everybody laughed. We are down now near the entry to the woods. Third split is just behind us. What are you thinking about this, I say new section, the old section, new lines?
Yeah.
We've not ridden it for a long time. What are you thinking about it?
Yeah, interesting. So like you say, new old section, a bit more rocky, a bit more raw. They've opened up this whole line here on the right, which has never been open before. You've always had to come down the rocky channel. So that's interesting, but it's a bit more dirt. So we're looking at it, but with all the rain that's forecast, it might rut up too much and it might end up a little bit blown apart, and the rocks may just be the best option anyway. So yeah, there's certainly some line choice. So this is the main section. We'll be sending our line guys tomorrow to keep letting us know what's changing and what's evolving.
Do you like this side of the coming down this way better than going the new way?
Yeah, I prefer it. Like once you go through the deer gate, this way just is more of the same. It's rocky, it's rough, and you just keep the same style of riding. Whereas the newer way, it changed a little bit, and it was almost bike parky at Fort William, and it never quite felt right with me. I think I always naturally backed off a touch and never quite had this split dialed on this route. So yeah, excited for a change for sure.
And time wise, do you think it's shorter? So we should be going quicker?
I don't know. I actually haven't thought about that. Maybe it's a little bit more direct down the hill, yeah.
Let's go and have a look at the woods. So we're now at the World Cup road gap. This is only open for the World Cup. It's pretty high, but it's, you know, an equal distance. It's not that much. It's not that hard as a jump. But then you look at the run into it, and the running is pretty terrifying, really. It's steep and twisty, and you're not going to have that much speed when you come out through there. I wouldn't want to do this jump with that running. It's gnarly, proper gnarly. Fair play to everybody who hits it this weekend. Jack, last technical bit really before sprint to the finish.
Yep.
What are you thinking about the woods?
Tricky for sure. Yeah, there's a few lines, and certainly the entrance into the road gap, like they've taped it so they're really slowing us down, and it's completely off camber. So yeah, I think middle line's going to be the one, but yeah, there's some lines in there, which is good because it's completely different from everything you're doing at the top. And then once you land this jump, you're back to charging and carrying speed again.
Cool. Final stop, midges are starting to bite. We're at the bridge at the start of the motorway. I've cleared the motorway. You need to not brake off this bridge all the way down and around the corner, is that right?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, there's no braking points here now. The last braking point is before the World Cup little river gap, so we're a long way past the last braking point. Yeah, so you'll be on the pedals here, and then speed tuck in, death grip in, and just tuck in and catching the landings as sweet as you can. There are obviously some pedal strokes to be laid down.
At what point do you know I've done a good one?
I'm
safe, kind of, you know, like.
Well, I don't know if anyone remembers, but Harry Heath had a crash coming out of the the left-hand berm that's back there with the wooden thing, and then the long right-hander back there. He binned it there, and he was on for a top 10. Right. Everyone thought he'd done it, and then he crashed there. So I would say out of this right, because Bruni crashed here, didn't he? Yeah. Off the hip. Yeah. So I would say after you've landed that hip, it's just about laying down the power and getting across the line. But anything could happen, like.
Cool. Well, thanks very much for presenting this video with us and talking us down the track. Best of luck for the weekend.
Thank you.
Nice one. So that's it for the track walk preview video. I hope that was of interest to you. We're going to be here tomorrow shooting some more stuff, which will be on Singletrack Magazine's Instagram at Singletrack Magazine. I hope everyone enjoys the race and has a great weekend.